Hi, I'm Dr. Gemma, and welcome back to Cognitive, the Knitting Psychology podcast. Cheerfully and somewhat irregularly in business since 2008. Segments today may include what's on my hooks, needles, and spindles, a strategy, something I really like, put a lid on it, oh shoot, and blather. So sit back, put your feet up, pick up your knitting, crocheting, spinning, weaving, or dyeing, or any other yarny thing you're doing, and get ready to enjoy. Well, hello there, and welcome back to episode 131 of the Cognitive Podcast. Pretty exciting times around here. I've had a really rock and roll kind of week, and I'm anticipating another one, and then things should calm down. Oh, those are always the worst things to say, because you know, like that, those words are the kiss of doom, you know, like things are just going to go crazy. But no, all of that aside, it's been exciting, and I have a lot of news, and been doing a lot of projects, and it's been a lot of fun. First off, top of the podcast, I welcome your comments. And you can read the show notes either on our group on Ravelry, which I think is just called Cognitive, Cogknitive, so the word knit in the middle of the word cognitive. Or you can find our show notes at cognitivepodcast.blogspot.com. I say this because I think we've got a lot of new people wandering around here because of the upcoming CFR. So you're probably trying to get yourselves oriented, and that's fine. So here we go. I am not typically adding people to my groups on social media because I get hit by so many robo accounts. When I do add people, it's because they are being followed by other people whom I know, just so you know that. But you can always contact me through the blog or through the group on Ravelry. In the warm thanks department, Reader A, or Reader A, or whatever, I'll get it yet. Yes, I am going to buy the 2 new Tennis Gray books that I have reviewed really sketchily under something I really like for the last 2 episodes. I can't wait to get them. Have I knitted anything from them? No. I have knitted from some of their designers, and these are kind of cocktail table books for me. They're just beautifully done. She's a good designer. She edits these designs fiercely from what I can tell. There is one, the Owl Mail, is that what it's called? Anyway, the sweater from the first Harry Potter book, and I don't remember the designer on that. And I'm a little hesitant, Outpost. I'm hesitant because it looks great in the book, but every time someone makes it, it doesn't look the way I would want it to look. So I've been hanging in on that one. And then in the Star Wars book, there is a white vest for Princess Leia that I just want to sit down and do, and I have not gotten there yet, but it's really gorgeous. Sal Pal, my friend, you are in Maine. I thought you'd said you were in Canada. Wow, I so want to go there. My fantasy is to go to the original LL Bean with about $1,000 and go crazy because I love their turtlenecks and their rubber shoes. And I'm sure I could buy a kayak and have them ship it. I'm sure I could. At any rate, Sal Pal, the day I get to Maine, you, me, coffee, just saying. Our own Lexicon. Drum roll. She graduated her master's program. I know what that takes. And she did it while working and with a small child. Lex, you make us all proud. I'm honored to know you, and I know the commitment and the drive and the challenges, at least some of them, that you have faced. My warmest congratulations. It has always been an honor and a pleasure to know you. You're one of the people I really respect. I can't say it hard or loud enough. I am screaming in the stands here. Congratulations. Boy, moments like that make me feel so good. Don't you love it when you see the really good people succeed? I mean, don't you just love it? Doesn't it give you the warmest glow? Meanwhile, Beautiful Christina, Chris sent us a link to the very pretty Emerson shorts pattern because she understands that I'm on a quest for better shorts to make. It has the waistband I want, which is elasticized about 2/3 of the way around and then a smooth front panel without the elastic. That is always a beautiful way to do an elastic waist, and it gives you a very pleasing waist if you tuck your shirts in. So I must away and look at that a little more carefully. Twin Set Jan wants me to know that green tea does have caffeine. In fact, it has about 60% of the caffeine that black tea has. Holy Moses, Jan, thank you so much. I don't know why I thought it wasn't caffeinated. Now, I know it's loaded with antioxidants, but there is just something in it that sets me off in a way that black tea does not, and yet it has so much less caffeine than black tea. So there's some other thing going on there. Nonetheless, I feel a lot better about this, knowing this. Okay, here's the part you've all been waiting for, I'm sure. The Cognitive Fiber Retreat. As far as I know, it is on for Saturday, November 11th, 2023. The job this week is for me to develop a list of hotels to go up and look at. That you can't just call them up. You know, you have to go to their websites, you have to go meet people, talk to managers, see how friendly they're going to be to us. If they're doing a lot of other things like weddings and whatnot, although November, not so much, right? They're usually going to be kind of cold. I learned this the last time I organized a fiber retreat, that 90% of what you're looking for is a manager who wants to work with you. And whatever problems we had up in Tehachapi, we did have that, a manager who was eager to work with us. So at this point, the good news is we have 21 attendants so far, and these are all previous with one or two exceptions, I think. Actually, looking at the list, I think the only new person on it is Danger Mouse, assuming she wants to come. The Knitmores want to come, and I asked them, what are your numbers? Because they travel in a beautiful organized pack. And so I didn't get an answer back. So I have been assuming it's going to be Gigi and Jasmine and Danger Mouse, all the Knitmores, that we're going to get the whole crew. Now, there are other Knitmores, which reminds me to say, Sam Knitmore, congratulations. I'm really sorry I couldn't be there, but congratulations. That was a gorgeous picture. You look like the happiest man alive, and you should be. Just saying. Meanwhile, back at Cognitive Fiber Retreat 2023, so we have 21 out of 50 people. The vendors who have expressed interest, Dizzy Blondes wants to send a colorway, but she is not going to attend. I have seen the 2 colorway options that she and I discussed. We were joking about CFR coming back from the dead. And so I said, zombie colorway, so, blues and cold and icy. And she laughed and she said, no, a phoenix colorway, reds and oranges. She dyed both of them. And then she said the thing that, it's one of the reasons I love Laura. She said, well, if we don't use one of them this year, we'll use it for next year's CFR. Oh, Lord in heaven, someone's got me signed up for more of these. We can only hope. Oh, Judy K. No, she's new on our list. I'm looking at the list here in front of me. I have to tell you, of these 21 people we have signed up, though, I'm so happy. I don't know what to say. I'm so happy. And I'm going to get happier because now I'm going to tell you the possible vendors, apart from Dizzy Blonde sending along a colorway. Lisa Souza wants to come. Oink Pigments wants to come. I have to be honest, Oink and Laser Sheep wants to come. Oink and Laser Sheep were both waitlisted to vend for us at the last CFR in 2016, CFR 8. They were both, they were going to vend in 2017, and I didn't do it 2017. So I am over the moon that we're going to get them. We have Tina, our own jarista. She's coming back as a vendor. She sent me a list of her soap flavors. Oh my. Yum, diddly, yum, yum, yum. Remember, we'll be raffling something from each of these people. And I'll come back to how that works in a minute. Alpenglow contacted me. She wants to come back. Oh my gosh. Organic dyes, healthy yarns. Oh my gosh. I just, top of the world, Ma. And then I heard from Drew from the Greater LA Spinning Guild, and he said, well, we could have a booth, you know. Now, he hasn't been to any of these. Jedi Mom has. Jedi Mom's in the guild, and Steffi Joe is in the guild. So I'm hoping they will talk to everybody about what CFR is like. I thought about it and said, well, how about if you send someone to teach a class? Because what we haven't got yet are classes. And I don't know if we're going to have classes. That's the tricky part. Got to get a venue. At any rate, what a list of vendors. Lisa Souza, Oink Pigments, Laser Sheep, Alpenglow for the yarns, Tina with the soaps, and the Spinning Guild. I don't know if they're going to teach spinning or what they're going to do. I guess they want to recruit. They can do that all through for all I care. I think it's great. And a colorway by Dizzy Blondes. Now, let me talk about the costs and the raffle, because these things are connected. I've had a lot of questions already about, are you going to do goodie bags? And I've had people contact me and say they want to send me coupons. Boy, when it rains, it pours. I have not yet settled on a cost for the attendees, which, you remember CFR, we keep it low. Everything is inexpensive. The goal is to show that we can all get together on the cheap and have a good time without busting the budget, and have great vendors and, if we can, classes. Okay, so we keep the price down. So the price in recent years, because this is a nonprofit, I was able to do what I did, including get a room for myself, from the admissions fees. And we were able to buy from the vendors. And I had enough money left over, frankly, that I was buying things like water bottles for, I think, 1 year or 2 years, and just bags, project bags. And the project bags were never really that big. I don't think people lived for those project bags. They weren't that special. But they were big enough to hold samples of various things and any goodies you picked up at the retreat. So I haven't really even addressed that yet. That's a really easy thing to arrange. I'm not at all worried about that. But what I'm saying is, so much of what I'm saying here is going to depend on what I charge and what the costs of the venue are. That goes for the vendors as well. I'm going to tell you right now, I want Tina to bring her soaps. That's a no-brainer. In terms of the dyers, any one of you would be enough. To have the 4 people, I'm blown out of the water. I'm really happy. I haven't heard from Redfish, but I haven't contacted them in a while, and I haven't heard from them. In other words, they haven't picked up the vibe that we're doing this. I don't even know what they're doing, which is odd because Sandy lives in the same town I live in. But they're the only person I would add to the list. If we can get Redfish Dye Works, I'll bring in Redfish. Apart from that, I honestly don't know who we're going to have, because I've had to say to all the vendors, well, let me see what it's going to cost. Now, here is what we want to charge the vendors. We want to charge them 1 skein, not a mini, of a high-quality yarn. And I used to say it has to have a $25 retail value. That was their admission fee. That's it. Now I'm going to raise that and say it has to have a $35 value, because that's really the same thing. It's the going price. I want them to give me a really good skein of yarn. What happens to those skeins? When you come in the front door, you get a raffle ticket just for coming. And we raffle off anything we have, any donations, anything we have. Now, in the good old days, I used to contact people on Etsy and say, do you want to send us a coupon? I would like to get to that. I have not gotten onto that yet. The first thing is the venue. No venue, no CFR. So we're looking for a venue. I'm not worried about getting one. And I think the first line contenders are in Castaic and Santa Clarita, just north of LA, easy train trip. This is nice. This means we can pick up people at the train station if we have to. Other possibilities, very, very, very outside chance to Tehachapi because of the prices and because of the ambiance. Frankly, it's an easy town to be in for a retreat, but as I mentioned before, there are some disadvantages. Yeah, the bed bugs I think we're safe from, but you never really know. It's in farm country. Okay, but I think it is more likely it's going to be in the Santa Clarita Valley area. After that, I would say probably out towards the coast. I would think Camarillo is going to be the best prices. We can get to Thousand Oaks or Camarillo were the best prices I saw out there. So that's what I'm thinking of. Okay, so what I'm telling you is we don't know yet about classes because we have to get a venue. We don't know yet what the cost is going to be. I honestly can't remember what the last cost was, but my sense of it is it might have been too much, that we might need to trim back the attendee cost. The only thing is, I'm always being told you have to put down X amount of money for the banqueting hall, which can be refunded, blah, blah, blah. That's what drives the price up. But basically, we'll see how it goes. I'm not expecting it to be much. I think our last time it was 25, but I just don't know what to tell you about that. I don't want to go higher than that. I doubt we will go higher than that. You do your own food. You do your own hotel costs. However, we're looking at hotels where you can buddy up on rooms pretty easily. Santa Clarita, food everywhere. You can eat anything you want. You can go to the store and get dog food if it makes you happy. There's a little exaggeration there. Well, no, you can, but I mean, you're not going to do that, right? Okay, so we're going to be good on that. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else coming up on that. Not really. A lot of people have said, I'm interested. What I'm looking for is, do you want to be on the list? Are you going to be available on Saturday, November 11th? So I've got 21 people, and I'm reasonably sure these people are hardcore serious about being on the list. There will be a wait list. We have always gone to wait list, and we've always done really well. To be honest, most years we've actually managed to accommodate the whole wait list. And the wait list has varied. We've had years where we've had 20 on the wait list. We've had years where we had 5. We try really hard to get everybody in. Okay, the other thing, I am going to ask for reduced rates at the hotel where we're going to do this for renting a room. We're going to try and get a group price. This is an easy thing to do. I have to tell you, if you knew how easy it was to do this, to go to hotels and talk to them about this, you'd do it too. I mean, we'd be having these things every weekend. Okay, so what's on my hooks and needles? By the way, needles now seems to include my sewing machine needle, which leads me to say I have finished another pair of Simplicity 85-58 shorts. These are just in a dark blue broadcloth. I experimented a little with these. I added more elastic to the waist. Now, the waist of the light blue ones that I made last week is fine, but I just didn't like the way it was hanging on me, and so I changed the waist up a little bit, and I like it better now. These are still a little bit wide in the leg for me, but I have to tell you, there's something really marvelous. I cut them out last night, and it's so easy to do. Now, I really have problems making the legs, making the tubes for the legs. You attach the front to the back on each side to make the tube for the leg, and there is something in my brain that cannot understand how it works, so I keep having to rip out one leg seam going, oh no, it's inside out. But everything else flowed really well on these. So by the time I went to bed, I had the waistband set up and cut out, ironed, folded, pinned, and basted on its raw edge. And I had the pants were still separate from it, but they were finished. So this morning I just got up and attached the waistband, did the channels for the elastic. I'm using 1/2-inch elastic on this. And then hemmed them and put them right on. Really marvelous. Well, I got very excited then because also I was going through my patterns and I was looking at Simplicity 9802 from 1996. If you look up 9802 now, I think it's stuffed animals or something. But this was 9802 from 96. And what it was it was meant to be 2-hour separates. No, not in the least. What they really did was gave you 3 really attractive tops that were tunics in length, different necklines. They actually came out looking like surgical scrubs, I know, because I made a few of them. And then somebody there just said, well, we don't have enough in this packet. I don't know why. So they threw in a plain skirt, a long skirt. this skirt is worth the price of admission. And I will come back and talk about how you make this skirt without their pattern. They don't even do this kind of skirt anymore. It was just, it's hilarious when I tell you what this skirt is. The important thing is, I thought it had 6 seams. I think it may only have 5 seams. It is basically a front and a back. That's it. So you seam the 2 sides, and then you fold over a 1/4 inch at the top and press it down. And then you fold it again for, I think it was 1 5/8 inches. And you press that down and you pin it. And the bottom edge, towards the bottom of the skirt, will of course be that 1/4 inch you just folded under. So you just press that all flat, and then you run pins through it to hold it all down, and you go in first, you sew through that 1/4 inch allowance at the bottom. So you're making a bottom of what's going to be the casing for your elastic. And now you have a 1 5/8 inches above it, and you can do anything you want for elastic. It shows you how to leave a gap in one of the side seams so you can insert an elastic. And I believe it was 2 pieces of elastic. They tell you to use your waist plus 1 inch, but another pattern, in fact, the skirts I was making in the flannels, that actually gave me a nice measuring of 33 inches for my waist. I'm not going to tell you what my real waist is, but that worked really well. So I've been using that, 33 inches of elastic. So, I cut 2 pieces of elastic, ran them, made the channels, ran them through. So essentially, there's a seam at the bottom when you turn over what's going to become the casing. And then there's another seam. You make 1 seam around to make channels for your 2 pieces of 1 inch wide elastic, 1/2 inch wide elastic, And then I hemmed it. So however many seams that is, I think it's like 6 seams total. This is mindlessly easy. To make it even funnier, the skirt is 1 piece. And the piece is a big rectangle. And it's huge. Gives you a huge waistline. I think it's like an 80-inch waistline. Because it's just a big rectangle. So the bottom is as wide as the top and vice versa. Anyway, this makes a great skirt. So you can see me standing there wearing it with my pink t-shirt from Mammoth Lakes. And you can see it's one of my florals that I got at Joann's. And this is Simplicity 9802 from 1996. You could do this without a pattern. That's how easy this is, and that is really setting off a whole lot of thoughts in my pointed little head. So we have 1 skirt and 1 pair of shorts finished. I thought I was going to be finishing socks, but I just got caught up in the sewing. I'm having a blast sewing, let me tell you. In progress, the stash toss. You remember that? 4 skeins of yarn in since January 1st of this year. Versus 33 skeins out used. The power of crochet, I tell you. You can see some pictures of my lovely fabrics that I've bought this week. In that leftmost picture, that's what I just made the skirt out of. On the right, you can see 2 other skirting fabrics, and you can also see the dark blue that I used to make the shorts I'm currently wearing. If you look hard, you'll see the light blue underneath it. I believe I have enough to make another pair of shorts there. I've also got enough leftovers to think about making a quilted strip kind of pillow, but we'll see. And then there is the find of the week. The fabric with Minerva. I saw this on the Joann website and went crazy. I ordered the entire 8-yard bolt. Got 15% extra off. I mean, they were already selling it reduced by 30%. And I got another 15% off. Yeah, I know, it's just excuses. You know that. Isn't that adorable? All the black cats jumping through the ferns. Yeah, I thought so too. I got 8 yards. I had them cut it into a 5-yard and a 3-yard piece. So the 3-yard piece is obviously going to be one of my skirts. One of my easier fast skirts. The 5-yard piece is probably going to be one of my full circle skirts, but I'm putting that off for a little bit. I'm just doing this straight up easy straight skirts first. Wow, I am working on the Franken socks for Mother's Day that I started on Mother's Day. In that picture you can see me on the foot, starting from the top down, so you can see the stripes, then you can see the 2 lines of waist yarn, really half rows, and then you can see the striping on the foot. Actually, as we speak, I am past the toe. I've closed off the toe of that, and I'm going back and inserting a heel. So that first sock of the Mother's Day Frankies is doing very, very well. The Blueberry Who socks, we're on to sock number 2. I used 2 inches of 1x1 ribbing at the top, and then I used 14 repeats of the pattern, and I think I've got 10 repeats of the pattern in. So I'm like 4 repeats away from inserting the waist yarn and getting on to the foot of that one. I really wanted to get them finished this week, but it just didn't happen. But I'm on sock number 2. The Dizzy Woodlands Country Cotton Shawl, I picked it up once or twice this week. I think I'm probably about 25 rows into it. I think it's going to be about 50 rows. This is made in the same yarn that Dizzy Blondes wants to dye for us. It's the same base yarn. And it is a light fingering, which gives us the opportunity to use it for socks or use it for light shawls and crochet. No love on the lane splitter, no love in the Don't Know Yet, which is of course my big blanket made from blocks of crocheting from 2022. It is beautiful. It is next to me here. It is also 80 degrees in this room, so I'm not doing anything on it. No love on the embroidery yet. No love on the Lady Eleanor. We'll get there. After that, you can see a list of my favorite resources. As soon as we firm up all my other vendors for CFR, they will be added here too. And that's part of the gain. If you vend with me, I promote you and I use your stuff. Do I take money for advertising? No, I don't. This is called free advertising for you. Dizzy Blondes, right now you can see all the things I want to be doing, but I'm not. I've got a pile of Minerva fur on the desk that needs to be spun, which is tragic because it really doesn't take that long to spin it. Why am I not working on it? Trying to finish my class, and I want to start plying what I have of it with some silk. So don't hold your breath, but I'm going to get there. Let's get on to a strategy. Well, I've been working on mindfulness. And this week, what really came popping out of the woodwork was mindfulness. But it was mindfulness in much the same way I talked about it in the last episode, where I talked about the effects of yourself in the community being mindful. Now, we've just had this huge international exercise in mindfulness called Pandemic. And I'm not going to circle back and talk about that too much because I was listening to myself. I actually listened to my show 1 year ago and 2 years ago over this weekend. I just became interested in, A, how boring am I? And B, what do I sound like? And it was very, very mind-blowing to do that. And it's interesting, too, because we have always been talking about the dialectical behavioral subset of strategies from cognitive behavioral therapy. And this is a little outside that. Mindfulness is DBT. Mindfulness is not really part of CogB. That's something that Marsha Linehan brought into CogB when she developed the DBT subset of CogB and its protocols. So I'm always kind of expanding on it, but the one person who would tell me to do that is Dr. Linehan. She's wonderful. I have trained with her. She's an amazing person. Having said all this preamble, what I'm really talking about is mindfulness on a communal level. So we all were hurt when Stitches dropped its bomb last week. We all were hurt. All of us who have been to Stitches, in an emotional way, Stitches has a place in our hearts. We've had these great communal experiences there. But the teachers and the vendors were literally burned. Their money was taken and not refunded. And it is a scary thing to think about how big a role Stitches and XRX was playing in our community. I mean, we want that. It was great. They did some wonderful things, but at the same time, what a gap. And there have been a lot of responses to this, but what has really emerged is that we really do have to look after our teachers, who are the holders of our skills, and our indie vendors, who are the purveyors of something better than stuff that's been mass marketed, dyed in other countries. I don't mean to be biased, but taking work out of countries for cheaper prices and often lower quality. Okay, so the idea is we want to preserve the teachers and the vendors. And we're going to do that by coming together as a community. So, this week I got a lot of people saying to me, why don't you know how much work it's going to be to do a fiber retreat? And I thought, well, yeah, actually I've done it 8 times already. I'm pretty good at this. And I've done other similar events in other aspects of my life that I'm not going to go into. But the other thing that struck me was so many people were very discouraging about it. Now, 2 people immediately said, how can I help you? One was Mary D, and I'm blanking on who the other was. But I was really moved by that, where they just came forward and said, you don't know me, but I'll do anything you need. Mary D does know me. Can't think who that other person was. But at any rate, I can't tell you how I appreciate it. Now, while I sound like I'm sitting here patting myself repeatedly on the back for running a fiber retreat, the thing that's been going through my mind is, actually, I'm just being communal. I want this knitting community to work. I want these teachers to keep going. Now, I'm the worst person in a knitting class. I don't usually take them because I get so revved up I can't sit through them. And I can't knit or crochet fast enough usually to keep up with the classes that I'm in when I go to live classes, so I don't, to be honest. But yet, I realize most of you do very well with them. And I love the indie dyers and the vendors of all things, including resin, pins, soaps, I mean, all the wonderful stuff, hair bracelets that we have found over the years at Stitches. Those vendors have been great. I saved my money all year long to go to Stitches at least once a year. And that and CFR are the 2 places I bought really good yarn. And I've got tubs of yarn all around me to prove it. Okay, so the important thing is I'm actually thinking in terms of organizing a fiber retreat because I want this community to survive. And while it would be really satisfying for me to tell you what a wonderful person I am doing this and being so communal, actually, guys, I'm just being a normal human. Being communal, I really admire it when people do it. I don't mean to be cold-hearted, but it's not a virtue, it's a necessity. We have to keep working together to keep our group going. And if I'm not going to do it, who do I expect to do it? And if I expect somebody else to do it, why? Have I already served my community, and so it is reasonable that I sit back and let somebody else serve? In other words, what I'm saying is part of mindfulness is communal logic, and communal logic involves the idea, if not me, who? And if not me, why not me? And that leads to the tangential idea, if I'm not going to do it now, when will I do it? When will I start to act in the communal interest? So mindfulness is usually understood as a very personal thing. I am aware of what I'm doing and why. I'm doing things thoughtfully by living in the present and observing myself, and I'm able to move from context to context, from situation to situation, and be flexible and take committed action. Okay, and that's individual mindfulness. But when you expand that to the larger community, you realize that you have to be aware of your community, you have to be aware of how it is serving you, and you also have to commit to serving your community. So CFR is one of the ways I have served for 8 years, and I am doing it again. And yes, on the one hand, I'm pretty proud of myself, and I think I'm being a real good egg to do this. But when I get real about it, in the dark hours of the night, and I can say that because the lights in my study just turned off on their timer. It's 9:30 on May 22nd, 2023. But when I think about this in the dark at night, I realize if I want a certain kind of world, I'm going to have to make it. And if I'm going to make it, I'm going to have to act in a larger, committed way to bring my community together. So the outgrowth of individual mindfulness is communal mindfulness, is recognizing your place in the community and acting to enhance the part of the community where you have skills to enhance it. When I was not good at spinning, I learned to repair spinning wheels. Oddly, I became a pretty good spinner as a result of that time. Working on that communal level has strange rewards. And if I have learned nothing else in life, I have learned that you have to invest in your community, you have to be mindful about yourself in community, and you have to commit to supporting community. Each person supports in a different way. Old friends of mine used to go out once a year and clean a creek bed in their community. That isn't what I do because I really don't know how to get into that group, frankly. But one of the ways I am contributing is CFR. And so the challenge of mindfulness is to do it on this personal, individual level where you are aware of your activities, but also to expand it to a communal level. When I am appropriately mindful, my community flourishes. I have to point out, to put it lightly, this is not a fascist value. That, in other words, when you hear people saying they need their individual freedoms and we all have to believe in the same thing, blah, 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 that's actually not communal. That kind of rampant individualism is not good for the community. And if you want to think about being communal in terms of the recent pandemic, you could look back at some of those statistics. At any rate, mindfulness is a communal value. And people who are mindful to the benefit of their entire community. On to the fluffy books. I'm still carrying An Extravagant Duplicity by Lynn Messina in the Beatrice Hyde Clare series, but I finished it. I probably just hate to erase it. Netflix, I haven't been binging Seinfeld for a while, but I'm going back to it. However, I did watch the full series of Queen Charlotte from the Bridgerton series. Now, you've all heard my problems with this, and yet I watch it. I have to say one thing. Shonda Rhimes, who I believe laid out the plot for this, is a flipping genius. Whatever I think of the issues of race involved, I have to say it's a brilliant plot line. It is humane and compassionate, and it's really, really sophisticated. I just thought this was one of the most original and interesting things I've seen on any kind of broadcast, TV or movie in a long, long time. Oh, historically, it's so wrong. It's so wrong. The way they're doing George having constant bouts of sickness, no, he didn't. He actually had relatively few bouts, but in the end it got very bad. We don't know what was wrong with King George. One theory is that he had a thing called porphyria, but apparently that has been discredited recently. Another theory is that he was bipolar with a heavy leaning towards mania. From what I've heard about his experiences of pain, I doubt that, but I think in the end he may have gone manic from lack of sleep because he apparently didn't sleep for a long time based on pain, not based on grandiosity. That's the way I've heard it, but I'm not an expert on George III. I don't care. The way they play this, particularly Shonda Rhimes, who's the mastermind behind it, she's talking about the secrets that are in plain sight. How everybody is struggling with their own secret stuff. And if you look hard enough, you actually could see it, could identify it, could respond to it with compassion. But there are often compelling reasons why the bearer of the secret does not let you in on the secret. And it's really played out in various plots beautifully. It took me a long time to figure out the birthday hats plot. But it really is amazing. And the secret itself, by the end, becomes a kind of code among the people who must carry the burden of a secret they cannot make public. Very, very smart. Very, very smart. I have to say, too, one thing about Bridgerton, as crazy as it can make me, the casting is superb. And I have to say, the two women playing Charlotte are off the scale. The older woman who plays Lady Avery has always been off the scale. I've always liked the woman who plays Lady Bridgerton. But I think Lady Avery is a phenomenal actress, I just have to say. And they really don't let you down. And I like this because if you're going to take Queen Charlotte seriously as a fictional character, they really deepen her in some interesting ways. So I have to say, okay, if you're going to watch anything with Bridgerton, you're going to have to come to grips with your own thoughts about the race stuff in it. But it is really good. It's very smart, it's very good, it's very sophisticated. Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves, the movie with Chris Pine. My husband got, I think it's on HBO, he got there 1 week free just to watch this. What fun. What fun, what fun, what fun. The two leads are having a fabulous time, and they don't even bother to hide it. You can't miss that they love doing this movie. And it is like a really shrewd D&D game. That's all I can say. When you play D&D with a bunch of very funny, very witty people, the fat dragon, that's my favorite part. But just lots of good one-liners, lots of really funny moments, lots of 21st century dialogue in a quasi-medieval script. Hugh Grant is chewing the scenery. He's having a blast. He's the not lovable rogue Forge, and he just eats it up. He's having so much fun doing it. Casting is quite good. Down to the level of the younger people in it. They do a great job. Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves, it's a blast. Really go watch it. It is so fun. It is mindless. I don't think it's got a lot of value. However, if you have played D&D, you're going to see a lot of Easter eggs in this. I know I wasn't catching all of them. Almost immediately, in the beginning, they address the sexism. And they address sexism and racism in these amazingly positive ways. And it's subtle sometimes. For example, they talk a lot about the loss of self-esteem when you're raised in a racist culture. And it's just not banged into your head. It's not preaching. They never say the words, but you're watching the characters and you realize what the point is. Smart where you don't expect it. Fun, but no great thematic meaning, just a really good episodic romp. And yeah, there's a dungeon in it, and it's just hilarious fun. The paladin is drop dead hilarious. I'm not going to say who it is, but the way they do the paladin, honest to God, I didn't know how you would pull off a paladin. Perfect. Just absolutely perfect. And the way the thief, who's a harper turned thief, Ed, the way he interacts with the paladin, totally predictable, totally cliche, and worth the price of admission. So I really enjoyed D&D Honor Among Thieves. The movie, go watch it, a lot of fun. By the way, the guy who created D&D Forgotten Realms, which this is apparently based on, says he loves it, and he can't wait to see more of it. Chris Pine apparently plays D&D, and that's why he wanted to do the movie, and he throws himself into it with just enthusiasm and gusto. You can tell he loves what he's doing. Okay, something I really like. I'm going to throw you another one. I could have used that movie, but no. 10-Minute Mail. I give you the link for it. What does this do? It is a website for free. It generates a random email address and then it cancels it after 10 minutes. Why? So when you see an ad and you want to follow up and they ask you for your email, you go to 10-Minute Mail, you generate a random address, and you give them that address. And you will get all the information and the bonus coupons that you want, go harvest them, and then that address is going into limbo. So they can add you to any mailing list they want. The email address doesn't exist after 10 minutes. So this is an amazing service, and I really recommend this 10-Minute Mail. The link is in the show notes under something I really like. Gets you off those spam mailing lists that you hate. Put a lid on it. Well, the tea tastings continue. Plum Deluxe ran a sale this past week, a 3 for 2. Buy 3 packages and you pay for 2. Get 1 free. So I ordered 3 new flavors. I think I broke down and got the banana bread because I can't imagine that, but I've had banana tea and I've liked it. But banana tea is full of starch, so can't do it because I'm diabetic. Anyway, I got 3 new flavors. I'm a little behind on telling you what I've been tasting. I'm out there having a good time. It's because I have a cold, and it's too hot for me to drink hot tea, and I've got a lot of their hot teas for cold, so a bit flummoxed, which leads me to talk about what did I do this week, because I had a cold that relates to put a lid on it. I ordered a neti pot. I used to have a neti pot. I was always fond of my neti pot. I can't find my neti pot. So I got myself a neti pot with salts, with actually custom salt for it. What I really like, it came with a thing called neti fluid, and you put a dropper full of it in your neti pot with the salt and the water. And this stuff moisturizes the inside of your nose as well. This has been great. I have to tell you, I got hit with this cold the day after Mother's Day. I woke up sick, and I immediately crawled into a big, hot, soaking bathtub full of Epsom salts. I knew I wanted it. I couldn't explain why. I got out of it. I am convinced this is why the cold never got so bad. That and the neti pots. So I did the Epsom salt bath last Monday. I did it again this morning. And it's kind of exhausting me, which it should, because Epsom salt, we all know, magnesium carbonate, magnesium, you take it in better through your skin than through your mouth. You know this, right? And it makes you tired. It helps you to sleep. It does a lot of good things for you. Magnesium, most Americans are chronically short of it. You need to take an Epsom salt bath and soak in it every so often. So I've done 2 of those since the cold started, and every morning I get up and I run a neti pot full of salt water with a little bit of the drops to moisturize in it. And this cold has been much, much less painful than the last 2 I had this past winter. So, I'm 7 days into my cold. I should have about 3 days left. But I've kept working. This has not been bad at all. I've also, in my own manic way, committed myself to the next CFR. So there you go. Cold hasn't been that bad. Which leads me on to the blather. Okay, in my Deaf Culture and ASL Studies, the Deaf Culture class, our final projects, we present them this coming Wednesday night. Happily, my last patient on Wednesday canceled for the day, so I get to go early and relax, eat dinner, and decompress. And today, I had a meeting with my 2 teammates in our group. The teacher assigned us groups of 3 and gave us a scenario, and we had to address all the problems the scenario would involve for the deaf child at the center of it and come up with all sorts of information. I have to admit, I was negative. I thought, here we go again. Because the other older woman, we have a 67-year-old woman, and she said, well, I'm not going to be there to present. And the teacher gave me permission. I'm supposed to contribute. She really, between me, no, she really didn't. She sent me 4 JPEGs of possible organizations, and 3 of them didn't qualify because they weren't for deafness, they were for cognitive disability. But she's certainly been cheering us on. And meanwhile, the 20-year-old, who's great, Eliza, she understood us to have said that all she was going to do was put it in PowerPoint. So, who did all the research, right? 6 hours sitting right here, solid research. I can tell you more stuff about immigration, particularly into New Mexico, than you need to know. But it was a good experience. And, I have to admit, what's my strength in this? The research. So I did the research, Cindy cheered us on, and Eliza put it into PowerPoint. Now, I have to tell you, she handled all of that really well, and her PowerPoint is beautiful. She reorganized what I sent her into the rubric the teacher wanted, and she made beautiful PowerPoint. So we had a meeting on Zoom today, the 3 of us, and we really didn't resolve a whole lot. We just all patted each other on the back and looked at the PowerPoint slides. And Eliza and I, what we're supposed to do is the people who did the research are supposed to present their part of the research. Well, I did all the research. So we just agreed we're going to get up together and we'll just hand it off to each other as we go and work through the slides. Fortunately, I know all the material in the slides, so it's easy for me, and Eliza knows the organization of the slides, so it'll work out somehow. But our project is effectively done, and Wednesday night we present it. This is beautiful. This is the end of our Deaf Culture class. There's no question in my mind I'm getting an A in this. And I also, at this point, am just so glad to get it done. It's been 2 semesters of deaf-related classes. Whether from here, well, that's hard to say because there are no ASL 1 or 2 that I can take at any time from our local community colleges that I know of. So I'm not sure what my future is with sign language, but it has been a wonderful experience this year, being this involved and having this much work. All through these classes, I constantly have thought of quitting, said I can't do this is too much, and yet somehow I have. So I'm very pleased, and if nothing else, I know enough ASL to get by in a pinch. In the pup date, Queenie has taken to chewing. she's a year old. Her birthday was May 10th. And it was so exciting, I thought, finally, she'll be old enough to have her in the house. Well, she and Captain are shedding like crazy. They both need to be groomed, and that's the next thing on the pet agenda. But the problem with Queenie in the house is when you're not paying attention to her, she does really destructive chewing. She doesn't go for the small stuff. So we've tried toys, and she ignores them. She chews the furniture legs, she chews the steps, So we're just going to have to keep working on that. That's all. The hub state, well, he's had the cold worse than I have had it, and the son also has had the cold pretty badly. The son and I both are at a phase where it's sitting in our chest just making us hack up glue periodically, but otherwise we're functioning pretty well. The hubs is feeling a little less well. So we're all just trying to plow through the cold together, but it's not so terrible. I say that because I don't feel so terrible, which is awful. On the calendar, the Cognitive Fiber Retreat 2023 is looking like Saturday, November 11th, 2023. Now, you know at this point you're not going to Stitches in Pasadena. You know that, right? You know that. And you also know, well, all those winter fiber retreats in places like Minnesota and Michigan, I'm sure they're absolutely wonderful if you like the cold. I should say that, Santa Clarita in November is about 70 degrees. Think about it. Where would you rather be? I'm just saying, something to think about. Southern California, it's a beautiful place. I've just heard that Vista, California, down at their, I think it's Antique Gas and Steam Engines Museum, they're having a Fiber Fest a little bit earlier, I think in September. I just got invited to that. I don't know what all that includes right now, but I'll tell you one thing. It's a 9-minute walk from the local transit center, so I may be taking a train down and spending a night. We'll see how that goes. In the meantime, I have the Evolution of Psychotherapy Conference in Anaheim, December 12th through 17th. Minerva, as always, gets the last word. You can see her passed out in a heap, just cold, on the floor of the bedroom by the heated towel rack. She's just lying there to remind us that it's been a long, long year of schoolwork in the college degree I'm not getting, because I've got plenty of those, thank you very much. But Minerva is demonstrating that all of us have those moments where we just have to sack out and rest. That's kind of how I feel about finishing my deaf culture class, so of course I've signed on to host a fiber retreat. Well, some of us rest one way, Minerva, and some of us rest another. I'm actually pretty excited about CFR. On that happy note, everybody, you know the drill. Wash your hands. If you're in a crowd, wear your mask. Stay apart from people. Remember, not everybody is as healthy as you. Remember that we are a community. And when we act like a community and we take care of each other, we all do better individually. And on that happy note, everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye. So we have come to the end of another episode of Cognitive. Please do not use this podcast to diagnose yourself. If you think you are having a mental health problem, please contact a licensed mental health professional. Show notes for these episodes can be found at cognitivepodcast, all one word, .blogspot.com. Episodes can be found at iTunes under the name Cognitive Podcast, but also can be found posted next to the show notes on the Blogspot page. Thank you so much for listening. Everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.